Hello and welcome back to the Alteryx Weekly Challenge with me, Nick Bignell. This is weekly challenge number 53 and is about parsing a report formatted data. Okay, so it is intermediate level, but on the face of it looks fairly straightforward, but I believe there will be, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, how do we do this in a more sustainable way? So let's just go through the use case. The company has slightly bigger. Company has a system that produces data that is not formatted into columns and rows, and in this case each row is separated by a line of dashes and each field is delimited by a pipe. The goal is to create a process that will dynamically transform the data into a series of columns and rows, keeping in mind that the number of columns and rows may vary. Okay, so let's see what we can do. Now, we don't necessarily just want to get rid of, first of all we want to do is get rid of these rows of dashes, but we don't necessarily know how long they are. Now, the challenge is if any of the data is has a dash in it. It doesn't look like it does. So I think what we can therefore, well, we can do a delimiter change to do that and then see what we're left with, because there's nothing in there. So the first row will have nothing in it. I'm thinking because it starts off with a pipe. We get this pipe here we can use to break into different columns. So let's do that right off the bat and we'll see what that does. Now what I'm thinking is we create lots and lots of columns and we split it by pipe and we create, I mean literally I'm going to go with let's go with 40 columns. Okay, so this report can then last up, have up to 40 columns in it. We'll then work out how we break those columns. If we just run that and see what we've got. So on the back of that we've got, say, column 1, which is basically just, it's just these dashes because there was a pipe right at the beginning. And then we've got all of these other information in there, and then basically there's nothing in there. So yes, there's most of them are empty, and then the rest have got all these dashes in it. So if we can then, these are all null, so we can just remove the nulls from number 2. Yep, and that will clear out all the dashes, get rid of the original field as well. So let's just bring in a filter and bring column 2 is what we want. Column 2 and is not null. Okay, so that should just clear out. Yep, so that's cleared out all of the nulls, and then we can use a select just to get rid of columns 1 and this dash 1. Okay, we've run that and we've got all of these, we've got the data in the right format, and we've got rid of the nulls that were previously in the workflow, and we've got rid of these first 2 columns. So now we've got to do something with all these nulls. So we've got a load of trailing spaces, so we should clean that up. Now what I'm thinking here is that we leading trailing zones, but we probably need to think about the nulls. Now what I'm getting at is that we've got all of these columns which are full of nulls. Now I was looking on the internet and I found this particular workflow as a solution of automatically removing all nulls column. So this is being posted by Jordan Barker, and this is where you can go and get this. But basically this takes out unwanted columns. Okay, so I'm going to bring that in, and we just copy and we'll just paste that straight in to it. Now if you look on here, it collects on this on both the transpose and on the dynamic rename. So if we bring that in there and there. Now what we got to make sure we do is untick these nulls because we don't want to impact the nulls, we just want to remove the white spaces. Yeah, I think that's it. So let's see what we can do. We also want to, let me have a look at that, see what it does. I just remembered we also probably want to, bring in the dynamic rename for bringing this up. Okay, so if we look at this and we look at the data we want, it's just one. We've also got, I also noticed there's spaces there and NAs, so we want to deal with that as well. Okay, so let's deal with the dynamic rename first. We'll just copy this one and paste that here. And all we want to do is take names from the first row. Okay, so let's run that and see what we get. Okay, so that's given us the same type headers as we have in here. Now all we now need to do is swap out these hashes and spaces. So that we want a formula for that. It seems to be just on this client ID. So we'll do a if statement. So if this field is empty, what's the correct format for that? So it's on string, maybe it's in test, is empty. Okay, so if it is empty, then we want on that field, where's the field? Client ID, then we want to put in not applicable, else we put in the client ID, yeah. And we also want to get rid of the hashes. So again, another if statement, conditional if. So if the field client ID equals hash, then applicable, else client ID. Okay, now let's see if that does it. Oh, I didn't select the field name. Select the field name, and now let's see if we can get it. Okay, so that does that then match that? So client ID. I've selected something wrong here. Contract ID. We want a client ID. Okay, that won't help. Yeah, that's all good. Okay, so if we run that, then we have a good match. Thank you very much for watching. See you again next time.